Hey, Mike, how was your surgery? You're muted.
How about that?
Are you good?
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be good. It's not perfect, but it's far better than it was.
What do they say recovery time will be?
I'm not sure there is any magical recovery time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I went back and did a follow-up, and I go back again. No, I think sometime in first part of December again.
Oh, okay.
But it's much better than it was, and if this is how it's going to be, it'll be fine.
Great. Good. Glad to hear it.
Are you all done with all your hospital visits yet?
Yes, unfortunately, my husband died.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
It's okay. In fact, the day of our last meeting.
I was not aware of that. I'm so sorry to hear that.
So it's, as you know, we had been in and out for a long time. So
Well, that still doesn't make it any easier, though.
no, but it's like you. It's getting a little better every day.
That's all you can do. I mean, you're trying to think about and prepare for something, but even if you're prepared for it, it's still not something easy to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't know when I bowed out of our meeting that we were that close, but I was glad I didn't have the meeting to worry about. So they did fine without us. Apparently, we are very dispensable.
Yeah, I find that out with a lot of things these days.
Yeah. If we're not around, things seem to go on just fine.
When I retired from school, I had 35 years out there, but guess what? It still went on without me.
Huh, amazing. Well, no, look, they're all shut down this year. They couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason.
I think so. Well, we got here. We've got more coming, right? On our team.
I assume so. Yeah, we have enough. We're supposed to have enough for a quorum.
Jeremiah said we do.
We do. I know Marilee's coming and Lad's coming. I'm not sure about Gary though.
Okay.
Or Jerry.
Jerry.
Jerry. Sorry.
Mr. Jacobitz.
Miss Bailey, Mr. Berthold.
Good evening.
Gee, Cindy, it's awfully dark in
I
your
know.
office.
Should I turn on a light?
It looks like one of those scary stories with the flashlight thing.
That's what it looks like when I teach my night class. I hope it makes them feel intimidated. Yeah, I think this is worse. It's just, I need one of those.
Halo lights.
Yeah.
Halo lights. Yes, exactly.
I don't see, but how come yours is so lit? Because you have an overhead light in your room?
Well, I'm actually in the blimparium.
I can tell.
And there's the only light, I hate this because I had a hard time seeing it here, but the only room light is right here. So
Well, Mike, if you walk by, I have two fluorescent lights that are sitting on the curb. I'm hoping somebody takes them. Work very well.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. You're a pal.
I try to take them out to the restore, but they don't take fluorescent lights.
You have to
No.
save them for
Recycling
hazardous waste day.
Yeah. Yep. Out at Vaca or whatever.
Yeah, I thought they might take the lights, but not the bulbs, but they don't take either.
No, if you go to Lowe's, all of those type fixtures are now LEDs.
Yeah, that's what I did. It was in a storeroom we have. I replaced them with LEDs. So.
Uh-huh.
Quit crumpling that. Stop.
Jeremy, we can hear you yelling at your cat.
Jeremiah's fighting with his cat, I think. Yeah.
Sorry, she's stupid.
Hey, Greg.
Good evening.
Marilee, hello. Oh, she can't hear me yet. Marilee, hello.
We have a couple more minutes here just to see if anybody else joins in. Well, I have 6:30 on my computer, so I believe at this time we will go ahead and get started. So I'll call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September meeting. I believe it was the last one we had.
It was
October.
October.
Excuse me, October 6th. I was not there, unable to attend, so I will rely on people who were there for the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Support.
We have a motion to accept the minutes as printed. Any objections? Okay, voice vote, accept the minutes as written, all aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so all passes. I'm looking on my other computer here, so excuse me while I look down. The next item on the agenda is a variance request for 410 East. See, that's the address of the variance request is for
310.
310, yes. On Locust Street. I assume we have someone here to speak to that.
Yes, Caleb Nito, construction site supervisor with Habitat Lenawee County.
Okay, if you could just briefly kind of run down what you're asking for here, please.
So what we're looking to ask here is a request for a dimensional variance on the front yard setbacks on the parcel of 310 North Locust. We're just requesting the minimum amount to mitigate the hardship with trying to fit another home in that property with that corner lot.
That lot there, the corner lot, that is a lot by itself, huh? It's very tiny.
Correct. And what we did was when we accepted the lot, there was somewhat of a formality that we would actually build two separate homes there. And that's why we're requesting a variance for the second home. At this time, we are building a home on 412 East Maple.
This particular lot though fronts to Locust Street, not onto Maple, correct?
Correct.
And do I understand correctly that what we're asking, the required setback on Locust should be 25 feet? And you're proposing that it be 15?
Correct.
So it's a variance of 10 feet. Is it a similar situation on Maple as well? Is there not a setback on Maple?
Yes, it is very similar. You know, it's going off, we're going off the 8-foot setback. And on the back end of Maple, there was kind of a staggered section of lot there. So we were able to go off of that existing since it was a split lot.
Ken, I don't mean to give you too hard of a time here, but is there some reason this, because I got to tell you, this strikes me as putting 8 pounds in the proverbial 5-pound sack here. Is there some reason we didn't just combine these lots and build one house that had some yards?
Well, for my originally this was a house that was torn down due to blight. And with, you know, in our agreement was being able to split this lot, we'd be able to provide 2 houses, for 2 new families at a minimum to us would be, our minimum we looked at for the Maple house was 1,088 square foot. And with this house, we're looking at 1,183. And that's including the porch as well.
Yeah. I mean, I realize that this technically is a buildable lot, technically, but boy, these people aren't going to have any yard at all.
Yes, and we understand that, but we're trying to actually improve the area there and try to put another house in. We're trying to just meet with existing or what was previous setbacks or historic setback.
Will this house have a garage or a storage building or anything?
No, it will not.
So where do the people who live here put their lawnmower and their charcoal grill and their kids' toys?
As far as a garage, no. We do actually provide a small shed for each family.
Similar to the ones you have on the Maumee or on the Maple Street house right now.
Correct. Each house we build, we provide typically it's about 8 by 12 shed for the family.
Now this is a proposed to be a 3-bedroom.
3-bedroom, 1.5 bath.
And is there room for more than one car in the driveway?
Well, actually on the lot with Locust, it's a shared lot on the near the, let's see, it would be
Shared drive?
west side.
Shared drive?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then Maple has its separate drive running on the back side of this house we're proposing.
Yeah. I am sympathetic to Habitat, and I certainly would like to have this back on the tax rolls, and I understand the Habitat's mission. Boy, this just, like I said, I don't mean to overuse the analogy, but it just looks like we're putting an awful lot in a little tiny space here.
Yes, we understand that. And that's why, we've working with Brenda Rigdon at Black Raven, trying to figure out the best way to conform another home in this lot. So we're utilizing the max area that we can. So we don't have a vacant section of vacant parcel just sitting there with nothing to use it for.
Well, like I said, was there some reason we couldn't have combined these lots and made one house with a big yard?
For my
When this was done, they were originally 2 lots.
Yeah.
The question of them being put together didn't happen originally. There was a home that they put on the other lot, and then this home they're looking to put. There's a few more photos underneath of the original house that was there and how close it was.
And
so
then
at the time it wasn't a big thing, but as they went to develop the lots, that's where we are now.
and they were both derelict properties. The one on the Maple side, I've lived in my house for 35 years, and that house was vacant the entire time.
Mhm.
But I still question the wisdom of trying to put this much in this small of a space.
In hindsight, we should have combined those lots. Definitely.
Still could.
Any other commissioners have questions?
Well, I have one comment that I would like to make. I think that the points that Mike are making are all very good, but also I'm looking at this as a situation where there isn't any yard. So why can't that be a plus? I mean, somebody who had, I just need a house to live in. I live by myself, or there's just 2 people. We're senior citizens. I don't want to mow a yard. I've got a shed out back. It's like, this product is what it is. And somebody will move into that house who fits that situation.
If I could interject for a minute, I mean, it is, I understand that argument, and it's a good one, but this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely to be empty nesters living in there.
Or, yeah, exactly. And my concern without there being a lot of storage space is that everything regardless of the family, everything they own is going to be out in the yard, that
Hi, this is Glenn. Am I able to speak now on this or no?
I'm sorry, I didn't see who was even speaking.
Glenn, we're not on yours yet.
Well, no, I know, but I was wanting to speak towards this one.
Oh, if they will allow it.
Go ahead.
All right, so just a little historical content on this property. So the house that used to sit at 310 North Locust was a 4-unit that I condemned, and we eventually got tore down. The house that was at 412 East Maple, it had originally been a church, and somebody had purchased it to convert it to a residential and realized that they had no off-street parking. That's why that property sat vacant for so long. The land bank, through the city's demolition grant, actually purchased the old church for $2,500, and that's how we had both of those houses tore down. So the historical precedent of these properties is that neither one of them had 2 yards, or had very much of a yard, but there were 2 structures there. And so I actually support this, letting Habitat build another home there, something else on the tax roll. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, comments, questions from other commissioners? Okay, hearing none, we have some items we need to look at here as far as whether or not we can grant a variance.
Mr. Chair, do you want to have a public hearing on this as well?
Oh, that's why I was asking if anybody had any, I'm sorry, I thought anybody had any other comments. I guess I did say commissioners, didn't I? Is there anyone else here on our meeting that wants to speak about this particular variance request?
Mr. Chairperson, I got part of this answered. So there's a request for a 10-foot variance on the locust side, correct?
Correct.
And now is the Maple Street side also currently a 25-foot required setback?
Yes,
If I read the diagram correctly?
it would be. It would be in front.
So there's a 10-foot variance on the locust side, a 17-foot variance on the Maple side. And the backyard setback is supposed to be 25 feet as well, correct?
Correct.
So there's a 9-foot variance. I mean, there is a 10-foot, at least 10-foot variance on 3 sides of this house required.
And
One is 9 foot 5 inches. I'm sorry. Okay,
and part of that reason because we're speaking of a corner lot, correct? We consider both sides front.
yep,
Correct.
yep. Okay, I'm just looking to make sure that's what we're talking about.
Right.
So I did not write down all those different dimensions that you were throwing out there, but I know there was, because I was going to question about the 2 front, with the corner having 2 fronts.
Well, it's a 10-foot variance on the locust side, a 17-foot variance on the Maple side, and a 9-foot and change variance on the adjoining lot on the back side. By my calculation, anyway.
I think they're all on page 9, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Whether those are the variances or the setbacks, I'm not sure. On that chart at the bottom half? Yeah.
Yeah, those are the proposed setbacks.
So those aren't the variances. Those are what the setbacks will be.
Yes.
Okay. So
No. Well, okay, well.
yeah, just
then-
the other way around. So 25 and 25. And what should the right and left be? Which one of those are we calling the backyard?
Does this technically have a backyard, Greg?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be the one parallel to the front, which I assume is
The east side of it, the east side of the house is the backyard.
correct.
So that should be 25 also.
Yes.
So that's
So
a
all
variance
three
of-
sides of it should have 25-foot setbacks.
Yeah, okay. We just need to do the math so we can make a motion.
Now, that's a lot of variance.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if it's feasible to see whether a different designed house could go in there.
Not of that square footage.
Yeah, and that's the issue we have is a square footage. Actually, we're asking for the very minimum to get our requirements from with our criteria with Habitat International, being able to have a certain size for our hallway space with ADA compliance, as well as having a porch with a ramp as well. So, you know, we're not asking for any more than, you know, is needed. This is just for us to get our minimum requirements in for this, just as we did with Maple. We understand that we don't have much of a lot size and we have minimum storage. That's why we're going with a certain type of truss as well for the house. And we provide each house with the shed.
And Mr. Nito, what do you do with this property if you don't get this variance?
Well, we'd have to go back and think of that. I mean, if we're not able to build on it, there's any way we look at it at this point, where I don't believe if we don't get this variance, we'll be able to build on that.
Yeah.
Trying to actually get these requirements that we have as well.
I have two questions. Where will the shed go?
The shed would actually be located on the back side of the house. If on the house we have right now in Maple, we have one place. So it'd be, if you were pulling into the drive on Maple, going straight back, both sheds would be next to each other.
Yep. Okay. And Mike or Greg or Jeremiah, have we heard anything from the neighbors?
No, and I noticed within 300 feet, didn't hear anything.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from anyone else, commissioners or anyone else before we go down through our criteria? Okay, hearing none, let's proceed down through this. And commissioners, if you have any comments or objection to the findings, please speak up. Looking first of all that there are practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship prevent carrying out the strict letter of this ordinance. These hardships.
Page 6, please. Sorry, Mike. Thank you.
These hardships and difficulties shall not be deemed economic, but shall be evaluated in terms of use of a particular parcel of land. Now, in our written document here, we have the ordinance requires 25 feet front and rear yard setbacks would be improbable for a lot on the corner. So that covers, you know, it addresses what we're dealing with here. It doesn't address the amount, but addresses they do have to be 25-foot setbacks and all those, which pretty much regardless of whatever house you would try and put on there would not be able to meet those requirements, I wouldn't think. Any objection to this?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to item number 2. The genuine hardship exists because of the unique circumstances or physical condition, narrowness, shallowness, shape, topography of the property involved, or to the intended use of the property, do not generally apply to other property uses in the same zoning district and shall not be recurrent in nature. This is definitely has to do with the size of the property, and it is an improvement from the blighted material house that was there before. So I would find in favor of this. Hearing no objections, move on. Number 3, the hardship or special conditions or circumstances do not result in actions by the applicant. It was, you know, the original house was demolished and the lot size is the lot size. So the applicant had nothing to do with that. I know this is always kind of a tough one at times.
Because the applicant is building the house.
Correct. The applicant is building a house. But would there be able to be any other house built there that would fit into those setback requirements and still be a house that someone would want to live in?
It could be a much smaller house, but it wouldn't meet their requirements.
Would it meet anyone's requirements is the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, by our definition, it is a buildable lot by about that much.
Well, based on that much, we will say that it is not the result of the acts of the applicant. Number 4, the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance and shall not cause a substantial adverse effect upon surrounding property value, and use and enjoyment of the property in the neighborhood of the district. This certainly would be fitting with what's there, houses that are there, and I think it would certainly be an improvement from what was there before. So I do not see any problem with number 4 unless I hear an objection.
If this is an official document that will be kept somewhere, let's get the word garages out of the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
But there are a lot of houses right around there that are as close to the road as this one will be, or as close to the sidewalk.
And in fact, that is the one argument that I would make in favor of this,
Yeah,
of granting these variances, is that it would be in character with the rest of the houses in the neighborhood and would be in line with the rest of the houses on Locust Street
yeah.
and on
The
Maple.
ones-
So,
The ones across Maple are as close to each other and as close to the sidewalk. They have
Mhm.
land in the back, which this one won't have, but
Yep.
it won't look out of place.
correct.
So I would find the affirmative for that.
Excuse me, Mike.
Number 5, the granting of variance shall not confer the applicant any special privileges as denied by this ordinance to the land, structure, buildings in the same district. Obviously, these are all, houses in there, older houses, some small houses like you just mentioned, some of them very close together. So I don't see anything special there that doesn't refer to anybody else. Number 6, the variance request is the minimum amount necessary to overcome the inequality inherent in a particular property or mitigate the hardship. I think this kind of goes a little bit with what he was talking about, the requirements that they have and trying to make the minimum amount and adjust to the best they can to meet their standards and try and fit in the best we can with the possible variance to our standards. Any objection? Number 7, the variance shall not permit the establishment within a district or any use which is not permitted by right of the zoning district, or any use for which a special use permit or temporary use permit is required. Nothing there that would not apply into this particular situation. Do I hear any objections then to any of the findings that we find positive for all the findings? Hearing no objections, I will entertain a motion.
Mike, have you done the math so I can make a motion? I know you don't want to.
Yes.
Mr.
It
Chairman,
was-
given that we have found affirmative in all of the aspects of the findings of fact, I move that we approve variances of,
10 feet on Locust Street,
thank you,
17 feet on Maple Street, 9 feet, 5 inches for the rear yard setback.
thank you.
Support for the motion.
I support
hear
the
you.
motion.
I'm sorry, did I hear support for the motion?
Yes, I support the motion, Ladd.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion, we have support. Commissioners, any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Berthold,
Yes.
Jacobitz,
No.
Beely,
Support,
Strayer,
Support,
and Kolesky.
You're muted, Marilee.
Can't see her.
Marilyn,
There's support.
Thank you.
4-1.
Okay, the motion is passed. You have your variance and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next item on the agenda, we have an appeal. You find it here on my thing? Yes.
Mr. Chair, on this one, if I could suggest, this is a little unusual. We don't normally see appeals before the ZBA. I think the process that would work best in this case, because of the nature of it, is if you would give the code enforcement officer who's with us tonight a chance to state his position as to why he finds the use to be a violation of the zoning ordinance, and then give the appellant a chance to respond to that and articulate why there is an error in his estimation in the code enforcement officer's position, and then deliberate.
Sounds like a good plan. We're talking about 1119 Erie Street. And there was a violation issued and the is being appealed. So at this time, I believe Mr. Preston, I think you're here to kind of explain what's going on in your opinion and why we're here, and what we're dealing with.
So this actually started in 2018. I had a patrol officer stop by and notify Mr. Fick that he needed to come speak to me. But at the time, there was just a camper on the lot. It didn't appear anybody was living there. And so it became a very, very low priority. 2019 become a blur, but then in 2020, as you can see from the photos, the property was obviously developed very well. And so we started getting a lot of complaints. And so the Chief Emmerich and I went out, which in a few of the photos, we wanted to serve Mr. Fick the notice of violation in person. He wasn't there at the time, but you can see from the photos that it had obviously been turned into a living area. We did not find any evidence of human waste. However, on the rear side of the camper, which we do not have a photo of, there was a shower that was made, hooked up to a neighboring hose. And so, you know, if you read through my notice of violation, you'll see the issues that it's in violation of. And so a notice of violation was served to Mr. Fick. One thing I would like to note is that his address of record for that property is still a Hudson address. He responded only because we left the notice of violation on the table in front of the camper, which there's a couple of photos, or there's at least one photo of that, which he states that he lives at 309.5 Dean Street. So that's how this all transpired.
Okay, Mr. Fick, are you in here in our session tonight?
I'm right here in the corner up top here. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you fine. And what is your response to this, please?
I don't live there. I live 3 houses down the street on Dean Street. That's just where I hang out and where I park my vehicle, my summer car. The camper's not livable, and the garden hose was not hooked up to my shower, it was hooked up to a sprinkler system for my flowers.
So just to clarify, is it what you're telling us is that A, you don't live there, and B, the primary use for this piece of property is to store this camper?
No, primary use is just to hang out there during the summer. Because I got friends that come over, and when we're done at 10 o'clock, I would just walk home. No, I don't stay in that camper. The camper's not livable, and it just holds some of my stuff.
you own this particular piece of property, correct?
That's correct.
And you own the camper,
That's correct.
okay?
Mr. Preston, what particular then is the violation that he's been cited for?
Actually, there were three. There was, and these were all zoning ordinances, which is why it's before you tonight. The property is currently zoned R4. And so the first one was out of the zoning ordinance was 4.34G. The parking of a travel trailer or motor home or camper trailer when in use or occupied for periods exceeding 24 hours on lands not approved for such use shall be expressly prohibited. The second one was 4.34P3 of the zoning ordinance. Accessory buildings shall not include residential or living quarters. As you all are aware, campers and travel trailers fall under the accessory building section of the zoning ordinance. The last one was 6.1, principal uses in the R4, only single family residential homes are allowed in the R4 district. And so in order to be allowed to have an accessory structure, whether it be a garage, a shed, a camper, a trailer in the R4 district, you need to have a principal use, which is a residential unit. This particular property does not have a residential unit. My understanding, and Mr. Fick can correct me if I'm wrong, he bought this property at the tax sale. Whether he assumed that it was the house next door that had the residential structure or not, I do not know. But anyway, it turned out to be a vacant piece of property. Like I said, when we started this in 2018, it was just a camper, but now it's developed into, we have like a covered carport there. He's landscaped it beautifully, but it's not, it's in violation of the zoning ordinance.
Mr. Fick, so those three specific items that Mr. Preston brought up, what do you do you disagree with his evaluation or his assessment?
Well, first off, I've never stayed there overnight. I've never been there more than 24 hours at a time. I'm usually just there during the day. After I get out of work, and then I go home. I walk home. It takes 2 minutes to walk home. And if I don't walk home, I drive home. Like I said, I live 3 houses down the street on Dean, and there's no reason for me to stay there when it's not livable. I just use it for my storage along with my shed.
Commissioners, questions?
Mr. Chair, if I could interject a point here. We also don't allow accessory structures on a lot without a principal use on that lot. And so even as a storage structure, it wouldn't be allowed to be placed on a lot where there was no principal use, i.e. no home on that.
And in fact, the only permitted use in the R4 district, other than some kind of esoteric things, is a single family residential dwelling. And Mr. Fick's arguments aside, that alone makes it in violation. The only structure that's permitted on a lot like this is a single family residential home. Whether someone's living there or not is immaterial.
Mr. Fix, do you have a response to those comments?
I see lots of campers all around Adrian in people's yards.
But they have a home on it.
But they have a house on those lots too. It's not just a camper by itself.
So you're saying I'd have to have the house?
Yep.
I ain't got no way of moving this camper out of there because of the fence and the trees. What am I to do then?
I don't mean to be rude about it, but that's not our problem. You are in violation. And how you get rid of it is up to you.
Okay, then.
I'm curious how you got it in there.
It was there before the fence was put up. Since then,
Commissioner,
it's been put up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Peck, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
It came in through the neighbor's property before the fence was put up.
I see. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
now those people don't live there no longer.
Mhm.
We have any other comments or questions from anyone, please?
I would suggest as well that the temporary structure that looks like a tent on the right-hand side of the property is also probably put up without necessary permissions.
I don't believe those need permission to be put up. Those are temporary. It's a plain old carport.
I do believe there are still some setback requirements on those.
Well, it's a temporary use. It's, in spite of the fact that they're all over town, there should not be permitted.
I think we have some folks from the public who are here.
Yes, you do. My name is Elaine Stegg. I own the property on the north side of 1119 Erie. And over the course of this summer, there have been times I would question whether he stayed there overnight. Somebody has been sleeping in that camper and snoring very loudly. There has been a generator that has run all night long. There's been a great deal of activity over there for something that has not been lived in.
Mr. Fisk, any response to that?
I don't recall the generator being on overnight. I had a generator. It was a big one and it made a lot of noise. And I therefore went out and bought a smaller one because I was just using it to play my radio. But I don't remember leaving it on overnight because I didn't stay there. I always shut everything off at 5 minutes to 10 and I was out of there. I locked everything up and I walked home or I drove home.
There have been nights I've been out in the backyard at 11, 12 o'clock and there's been activity in that backyard, including a generator running, to the point that I've had to shut down my windows.
Commissioners, any other questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairperson, I move that the appeal be denied.
We have a motion, we have support.
I'll support that.
And that is on the basis of solely, which item was it? Section 6.1,
Right.
principal use only supports single-family residential homes in this district.
Right. I agree with that. And that saves us from arguing about whether it's being lived in or not. Because
Exactly.
it doesn't matter
Yep.
to section 6.1.
Does, just for a question here, then, does that change what we have as far as from Mr. Preston? Greg, I guess this would go kind of to you.
I think if you find any basis to deny the appeal, it's denied. Doesn't really change.
And it's not that I don't think the other ones have merit, but I just as soon not have an argument over the details. So
Yeah, you don't need to reach the others because the 6.1 is dispositive.
Yeah. I
it's
agree with that.
overriding. Mhm.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure where we're at on that. So at this point, we have a motion and we have motion has been supported. Commissioners, questions on the motion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Excuse me, Mike, just to be clear, the motion is to deny. So an aye on the motion denies the appeal. Correct?
Correct, based on the item number that was listed.
Thank you.
Strayer,
Deny.
Kolesky,
Denied.
Berthold,
Okay, just a question again here. I think we are answering, unless I mixed up here.
We need support of the motion in order to deny the appeal.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Should we go back?
Yes.
So let's please start, do the recall. Let's, roll call, please.
Give me a second. All right. Beely,
Support.
Strayer,
Support.
Kolesky,
Support.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Jacobitz,
Support.
Get down.
and Berthold.
Support.
Motion to uphold the violation is passed unanimously.
Good luck.
Okay, and just a question, Mr. Preston, will somebody be working with Mr. Fick then to get him and work with him on a timeline or something to get that removed?
Absolutely. Hopefully Mr. Fick will contact me tomorrow and we'll work those details out and hopefully get compliance. If not, we'll go to the next step, but hopefully we can work this out together.
I'm sure you'll be able to. Scrolling back up here to the agenda for a second. Believe that's all we have on our agenda. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, we will adjourn this meeting and thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.